For that, you could join us this morning on the bulletin. Now, the management of Med International Aircraft N823AM, operated by Global Medical Response GMR, has refuted allegations of drug trafficking and money laundering involving their flight. This follows concerns raised by the minority in Parliament, who suspect that the air ambulance and private jet may have been used for illicit activities. However, in an exclusive email to GHOne TV and Star FM, GMR clarified that the aircraft was in Ghana for several days solely to address maintenance issues. The company strongly denied any involvement in illegal activities and assured full cooperation with authorities. And the matter on your screens now, you could see excerpts of that particular email sent to GHOne TV's Joshua Kojomensa, and it says, on March 20, 2025, Med International Aircraft departed the United States for a scheduled international patient transport. As part of the planned flight path, the aircraft made multiple stops for fuel, including a stop at Kotoka International Airport in Accra, Ghana. Upon landing in Ghana, the aircraft experienced a maintenance issue, 2 blown tires that required replacement. No patient was on board at the time. No patient was on board indeed, but to address the mechanical issue, said a second aircraft was dispatched with the necessary replacement parts, supplies, and 2 maintenance technicians. For the next several days, repairs to aircraft N823AM were completed, and it returned to the US on March 25 following standard protocols and the required rest period for the flight. It says also that they will fully cooperate in any official inquiries into N823AM's presence in Ghana. They are confident that the flight documentation and mission details will clearly demonstrate that the Med aircraft was not engaged in any illicit or illegal activities. Lots of revelation coming in there from management of Med N823AM, that particular fight. But the ranking member of the Defense and Interior Committee, Reverend Tim Forjo, who raised concerns about this particular matter, has accused the NDC members on the committee of sabotaging investigations to evade accountability. Speaking to Joshua Kojomensa on GH today, the Ascent South MP emphasized that he is willing to cooperate with the national security officials for a joint investigation.
My surprise, after the NDC side on the committee had agreed that this was needful and this meeting or joint briefing had to be carried out to afford us the opportunity to collaborate with the security agencies, just as President Mahama wishes, and for them to also quickly conduct the investigations and update us. After they had agreed, only for them to turn around this morning to block that meeting, to say that they are not going to allow any such meeting to come on and that no joint briefing will be done. And so they are blocking the collaboration. They are blocking the collaboration. And therefore, if they are running away, they are evading accountability and running away from, joint briefing and running away from collaboration, then they themselves are defying the president's directive. There is something that they are hiding. So if the president's directive was not just rhetoric, just for social media people to see he has responded and he has seen it, but he really meant it, then I'm surprised that his own caucus is blocking this collaboration and this directive. My indication of joint briefing is just to afford the other members the opportunity to also be apprised of what is happening. But if they are not interested, I am available. They should honor that meeting I have called for on Monday morning, 11 o'clock, in committee meeting in Parliament. The same president will make those pronouncements. They should come there and meet me. If they are not interested in meeting the NDC side of the committee, I am available. And that is why I wrote.
Let's raise the Vice Chair of the Defense and Interior Committee, Peter Lanchene-Tobu, for more on this particular development. Honorable, good morning and many thanks for your time this morning.
Good morning, my brother. How are you?
I am good. How about you, sir?
Grace has found me.
Great. We thank God for that. I have chanced on a statement signed by the chair for the Defense and Interior Committee, the person of Honorable James Agaga, which the second point says that steps will be taken to invite the agencies as requested by the ranking member. But here he's mentioning some collusion on the part of the NDC, saying that there was an agreement, but now you are blocking. How true is this?
Thank you very much. Let me take this opportunity to say good morning to your cherished viewers. The ranking member of the Defense and Interior Committee, who happens to be a new member, fortunately for him, he became ranking, seems to be getting it so wrong about the operations of the Defense and Interior Committee. Everybody who knows Honorable Kennedy Japan, the former member of Parliament for Asin Central, the former chairman of the Defense and Interior Committee, a straight talker, he speaks his mind. When he became the chairman of this very important committee of Parliament that had to do with matters of internal security, Kennedy Japan never, for one, made public statements about issues of internal security. But I am so surprised. The protocol at the Interior and Defense Committee level is so simple. If you are a member and you have issues and you need clarification, you play oversight over the ministry, Minister of Interior, Minister of Defense, and Minister of National Security. Now we have somebody who has oversight over the Minister of National Security that happens to be the Minister of Interior. If you have issues and you need clarification, you invite the various ministers or the relevant minister to appear before the committee to answer questions. If it becomes necessary, you invite the person in plenary to answer questions on the floor of Parliament. These are all opportunities available, but we have always told people, at the Defense and Interior Committee level, we don't do partisan politics. When we are getting into the room to have any other meeting that has to do with Defense and Interior Committee, we tell the members, hang your partisan brain behind the door and enter. We are talking about the security of the state. Without Ghana's security, without a solid country, no political party will exist. And without a solid democracy, Parliament will not even be in existence. So let's leave partisan politics behind and talk about the security of the state. I am quite surprised that the ranking member had the opportunity to talk to ministers. And the ministers were actually available in the last 2 weeks. They were always with us. Can you imagine that Honorable Muntaka, the Minister of Interior, who has additional responsibility to take care of the national security, is a member of Parliament. He's always with us. Honorable Muntaka will never once send down an invitation to appear before the Defense and Interior Committee. I was shocked to the marrow to find a ranking member making such serious statements on air when we have never sat as a committee to discuss the evidence that he has or probably the intelligence that he has taken. I was so surprised.
So I take it from you that there has been no communication committee-wise between you and Reverend Intim Forger, because 3 hours ago on a social media account on X, he says that you have demonstrated clearly that you have something to hide. He says he will explore every parliamentary tool at his disposal in the exercise of his oversight until he has access to the high-profile matters of urgent public interest. That's what he says on X.
Let me probably provide a bit of education for him, very particularly on matters of the Defense and Interior Committee. At the Defense and Interior Committee level, when you are seeking for answers, you invite the minister to appear before the committee. Right. They will provide you answers. If you think that it is not enough, you can organize committee of the whole and let the various ministers appear and provide answers to plenary. If that is not enough, there is another level you can escalate to. You don't find answers by addressing the media. It's never done anywhere. And that parliamentary practice, if you want a minister to appear before Parliament to answer questions, and you decide to put the questions in the media and looking for answers, and follow up with an invitation to the minister has every right to turn the invitation down. That is bad faith. We don't do that anywhere. I mean, can you imagine a ranking member telling the whole country that they were so passionate about retooling the Navy to the point that they even got a loan to buy vessels for them, and we turned it down. 8 good years, you had a good heart to retool the Navy, and when it was just 2 days for us to rise, you brought a loan. The nation is even indebted to the point that we cannot even service our debt, and you brought a loan hurriedly for Parliament to pass, and we could not even do due diligence. We can't even talk about value for money. Is that the kind of democracy we want to run? And when the members of the NDC said, look, let's do due diligence. Let's ensure that even the vessels we are buying, they are of the quality that we need. The price, they have an image. And in 2 days' time, we rose. It was actually the not rose. and you think that we have turned it down, only if it is look, after the elections, when you come back to power or the NDC comes to power, the is a constitutional party for us including the Navy. Here we are today. You are saying that we turned it down because we protect a retooling the army, retooling the Navy, or you thought it was necessary by it. Let's be serious. If he wants to work as a ranking member with that kind of respect that we want to accord him, he should discuss issues at committee level. There are several opportunities and avenues for him to get answers. But for now, what he needs to do is collaborate with the various agencies and provide them with the support that he needs. And then when they get the briefing, probably when we all come back, they can come and brief us that after the collaboration with the ranking member, these are the issues. They will brief the whole committee and we all appreciate it. Right now, the language is simple. All the security agencies, NACOG, CID, NIB, all of them, they should collaborate with the honorable member because he has a lot of information. It's a surprise for all of us.
Right.
Share with them.
You have raised some procedural missteps on the part of Reverend Ntim Forjo. There are calls for the Speaker to probe his actions. Is this something you support?
No, for me, I think that the President directive he's a very high-level person in Parliament. The ranking member of the committee is just like a shadow minister. So if he makes these statements, let them. The collaboration is simple. The President chose his word properly. He didn't say he should assist. He said, let's collaborate. Security is a collective responsibility. You've shared it. You are a ranking member. You have so much information. Collaboration. Let's get to the bottom of this matter. After that, they can come and brief the whole of Parliament. If that is not done, if he refuses to collaborate, the next step is that they will have to invite him. They will have to invite him to assist. And that is simple. They need to write to the Speaker of Parliament. He's an MP. Write to the Speaker of Parliament according to procedure. The Speaker will release him to appear before the body and then assist. But we've not gotten to that stage yet. We are at the stage of collaboration. And every media person, every citizen in this country need to collaborate with security agencies on matters of this nature for us to unravel the mystery. So his collaboration with the security agencies is, look, Honorable Ntim Forjo is not under investigation. Let me underline that. Honorable Ntim Forjo, a Reverend Minister, ranking member, is not under investigation. He's made some serious statements, and we think that he needs to collaborate with the various agencies responsible for investigation for them to get to the bottom of the matter.
Right. Now, for us, we represent excellence in broadcasting, and so we took a step further and engaged Med, and they have actually responded to us through my colleague Joshua Kojo-Mensah, something we can make available to you after this conversation. But are you willing to consider the recent revelation we are getting from Med that indeed they came into the country and then they developed the fort, and that's why they had to stay in a while, bringing a new aircraft and all of that? Is something you'll be willing to consider as a committee?
There's nothing wrong with aircraft landing in Ghana and taking off. There's nothing wrong with an aircraft landing here, remaining on the tarmac for 3-4 days for probably technical or whatever reasons. There is nothing wrong with that. Now, when you have information that this a particular aircraft landed and you suspect that they carry drugs, that is a very serious matter, right? As we speak, when you go to the Air Force Base, there is an aircraft that landed during their regime. The crew members disappeared from the plane, and after that, we don't know where they are. We don't know what even they brought into the country. The aircraft is still parked there. The aircraft, as we speak, is still parked there, and national security is doing serious business. Right. How can national security go and arrest 12 containers? And they are still investigating the matter. And a ranking member will come on air and say they should come and brief the media. The Ghanaians are asking whether they want to wait until they come and tell the Ghanaian people that the gold has become fake and the dollars are fake. Ranking member? Really? Which continent? Which country do you go and see national security doing periodic briefings on very serious matters like this?
Right.
They are investigating the matter, and I'm sure that when it is time for the Ghanaian people to get to know what has happened, they are bold enough to come to the public domain and tell us what is happening. But he cannot on his own complete any process, investigative process. He cannot do that.
Right.
He cannot do that.
Thank you so much, Peter Lantene-Chobu, for speaking with us here on Newsroom. He is Vice Chair of the Interior and Defense Committee of Parliament. Meanwhile, Hamza Suhuyini, a member of the NDC communications team, has dismissed the allegations made by Reverend Ntim Forjo, claiming that his so-called expose, in his words, is merely an attempt to gain political relevance within his party. Suhuyini further accused Reverend Ntim Forjo of trying to imitate Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa, but without presenting any factual evidence to support his claims.
You have held a press conference to tell the whole country and the whole world. Remember, you are not just addressing Ghanaians. It went viral internationally. You made that press conference. Nobody compelled you to. So clearly it means that you have some actionable intel. that emboldened that press conference. What prevents you from simply going to have a meeting with the security agencies and make these pieces of information available to them so that they can proceed at the back of that particular information? If indeed you meant well for the Republic of Ghana. And that is why I'm telling you that if you look at his retreat and his sudden posture, clearly, this is a gentleman who clearly was seeking for political relevance within his own political party. You know, when parties go into opposition, you find all kinds of people trying to strategically position themselves to be relevant in case the party gets power back in the future. That is what I see the gentleman doing. He wants to be heard. And there are so many of them from the MPP side who simply are trying to mimic the Honorable Ablakwa, our current Minister for Foreign Affairs. The Honorable Ablakwa has become their standard. But what they fail to appreciate is that unlike this poor job that he has done, the Honorable Ablakwa was meticulous in terms of the exposés that he brought to the attention of the state.
Away from that, the Executive Director of Global Info Analytics, Mr. Dankwa, has defended his firm's decision to conduct polls on the likely successor to President Mahama. Some critics fear such surveys could destabilize the new administration, which is barely 3 months old. The latest polls from the Global Info Analytics reveal that 57% of MPP supporters prefer Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia to lead the party in the 2028 general elections. Head of our political desk, Ibrahim Al-Hassan, joins me with the details of that particular report. Ivy, good morning.
Good morning.
A lot from that document, but even before we shift to matters of the governing NDC, the 57%, how did they come by it for the MPP?
So it's quite interesting how Musa Dankwa and his group arrived at this. You know about internal elections of political parties, they are decided by delegates. So not even all MPP members will determine who becomes the party's flag bearer. This determination is left to party delegates. Yes. However, this poll that has been conducted by Global Info Analytics talks about asking general questions of general people, individuals who have been selected, who are not necessarily NPP delegates. And he makes that clear. And so, yes, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is in a pole position to lead the MPP. But that becomes the expectation of the people who constituted the sample size. This has not been narrowed down to NPP delegates. For you to say that, indeed, it's a representation of what to expect when the party goes to the polls to choose its flag bearer. That point must be made abundantly clear. Of course, Kennedy Apong then follows with a little over 25%. Yes, but then, like I said, if you look at this parameter, the fact that this decision rests with delegates. However, those asked of these questions are not delegates. Yes. So that's the weight you can place on this.
This particular.
Yes.
Let's shift focus to the NDC, who is just 3 months into governance, and there's already a poll seeking to know who will come and succeed President John Dramani Mahama.
Yes, so he says for the NDC, the current Vice President, Professor Nana Jino Poku-Agyeman, is the front runner with 26% of the vote, followed closely by the Minister for Education, Harun Idrisu, 19%, the Minister of Finance, Honorable Dr. Kisela Toforsen, 12%, Minister for Foreign Affairs, Honorable Kudutu Ablakwa, 10%, Johnson Asiri Nketia, the National Chairman, 10%, and interestingly, Dr. Zaneto Ajima Rawlings, MP for Klotekole, and that's 6%, and then the Chief of Staff, 6%, Julius Debra, 6%.
The grapevine formation, when people were making their plus or minuses, only saw the Chief of Staff, and then we saw Harun Idrisu, and then there's also Asiri Nketia. But there's a surprising figure in there who is playing at the same level of Chairman Mosquito.
Exactly. And for that of the NDC, the figures we just gave you will be the questions that were asked generally of the people who made the sample, right? When you come down, of course, the numbers do not change or Professor Nana Opoku-Agyeman. Of course, he narrowed it down to NDC supporters.
Right.
Once again, the determination rests with the delegates, not every member or card-bearing member of any political party. Relative to even NDC, not every card-bearing member takes part in the decision to determine who becomes the flag bearer. But of course, Professor Nana Opoku-Agyeman in the lead, Henry Risu follows, Ato Forson in that regard, Julius Zebra, and then the Chairman General, Asidin Ketia as well. But what we know, some of the names that made this list are not even in contention. They don't intend
to even run
to become NDC flag bearers. But of course, these are general questions thrown out there. But interestingly, for the first list that came, if you look at the very first four, which are Johnson, Asidin Ketia as last, the only one or two of them whose names are featured prominently, from what we have gathered, will be, for instance, Harun Idrisu and then Johnson Asidin Ketia, right? Interestingly, from that list, mentioned as the Chief of Staff, Julius Debra, whom we equally know is in the race as well. And so it's interesting. We asked him that direct question about whether this is not too early. And he says no, he doesn't believe that it's too early. But as far as good governance is concerned, this is a distraction. Because, mind you, the NDC and its flag bearer, who then became president, John Dramani Mahama, has one more term to deliver. Chances are, after his second year, allegiances will have to switch because everybody in the party will then be looking to who succeeds Mahama. So when is this early and this conversation starts, it becomes a distraction to the governance process. But of course, I'm very sure that the president and then the people who have been given power to govern will know very well that the determination as to whether the next flag bearer succeeds or not rests with the deliverables, and that is in their hands.
That is indeed in your hands. Ivy, thank you so much for being with us here and giving us all the details of that particular report. Ivy did indeed mention that Musa Dankwa justified his decision to conduct this particular research. Let's listen to the man himself.
We live in a different world today. Even when you are running for national election, you are still governing the country, isn't it? If you can't multitask, then you can't govern. We're not saying that these people should go and campaign now. They're not going to do that. No. But we are indeed, as posters, looking into the future. And nobody can tell us what or how we should do our work. If it doesn't interest you, just look away. But if you look at the United States, there are polls already looking at who will replace Trump. And Trump has been in office for just 2 months. We have been in office for what? 90 days. So this is global world, and we are an international company. We do things based on international standards. So we're doing what we believe is right for us to know. And indeed, look, for those who are thinking of contesting, the earlier you know the dynamics, the better it is for you. As we speak to you today, there are investors who are looking to see who would replace John Mahama in 2022 and what would be the chance of that person winning that election. If it doesn't interest them, there are others who have the interest in knowing that.
Okay, so you believe that this has no ability to distract the focus of the government?
They shouldn't be in government. Then they shouldn't be in government. Your job as a government minister is to deliver an objective given by the president. Nothing else will distract you. If you mess up your ministry, your chance of becoming the president, whatever, is gone. So first is to focus on delivering your job, do your job as a minister. We as a poster will do our own thing.
So some other stories. Daniel Owusu-Koranting, the man arrested in connection with the murder of investigative journalist Ahmed Swale, has been slapped with fresh charges after prosecutors amended their case to include abetment to commit murder. Initially charged with murder, the 35-year-old businessman, also known as Nana Amache, now faces an additional charge of abetment following a revised charge sheet filed on April 2, 2025. Prosecutors allege that Koranting sold photographs of Ahmed Swale to former Member of Parliament Kennedy Agyabeg before the journalist's murder in 2019. Swale had reportedly identified Koranting as the one who supplied the images that were later broadcast on Netu TV, where Agyabeg publicly called for retribution against him. Now, despite his lawyer's attempt to secure bail, the Madina District Court denied the request and remanded Koranting into police custody until April 17, 2025. Today, the courts, and this time around, the Apex Court of the Land, the Supreme Court, has granted the National Democratic Congress, the NDC, and as for parliamentary candidates permission to submit additional documents in support of their challenge to the reversal of the High Court's ruling on mandamus applications. This move is part of the NDC's certiorari and prohibition case, which contests Justice Forson Barr's decision to allow the EC to compile outstanding results and declare winners. We have our legal affairs correspondent Mutala Inusa, who is on standby to give us updates on the decisions that they are contesting on Tema Central, Kaikwe Central, Techiman South, and as well as Ablekuma North, which is still pending following the High Court's January 4 ruling. Mutala Inusa, as I rightly mentioned to you, is our legal affairs correspondent here at the EIB network. He was at the Supreme Court. He's still there. And he joins me now to give me an update and give us all an update on what is happening and what led to this particular ruling in court today. Mutala, good morning and welcome to the bulletin.
Good morning, Emmanuel. Thank you for having me from the Supreme Court.
The matters of the rule of law, what led to their decision today in court?
Well, Emmanuel, if we come to the Supreme Court today, it was a simple task before just one of the Supreme Court justices, Justice Yao Dakwon Asare, and the business was simple. The NDC side, the interested party, and its parliamentary candidate in this whole constituency election matter, and after the December 7 election, they had some disputes which has characterized some of the parliamentary results, specifically Tema Central, Ablekuma Central, Okaikwe, in fact, Ablekuma North, then Techiman South. 3 have been decided as we speak. Ablekuma North is still pending. The NDC disagreed with the decision of Justice Forson Barr delivered in January 4, which ordered the Electoral Commission to compile outstanding results and declare the winners, for which reason we have seen 3 out of 4 constituencies parliamentary court to ask the Supreme Court for 8 blessings to be able to do that. The EC, specifically lawyer Justin Emmanuel, opposed to that and said the matter has been filed for the past 2 months. The NDC went sleeping. In fact, that's the word he used. They went sleeping and then they were out of time. Now they are coming to the court for the court to grant them an opportunity. He said that that particular right is not absolute. It's a discretionary remedy. And so Justice Yao Dakwon Asare should not grant them that opportunity. A date should be fixed for the substantive matter to be dealt with. But the court is of the considered view that the court would exercise its discretion in their favor, especially also in the interest of justice. The court is granting their request. However, they are supposed to do that within certain time frame. 7 days from today, the NDC is supposed to file whatever affidavit, a supplementary affidavit that they intend to file, and then reply to the EC's point to the court. The EC and then the interested party, that the NPP candidate, if they so wish, they can also respond to that within 7 days upon receipt. And subsequently, the matter has been adjourned sine die. So the parties have appeared in court. The NDC's request for an extension of time has been granted, but they have 7 days within which to file the reply that they so wish to file.
Mutala, thank you so much for bringing us up to speed on the latest happenings from the Supreme Court. And that is Mutala, they're giving us the latest on the disputed parliamentary seats involving the NDC and the Electoral Commission. Away from that, the Ghana Armed Forces has launched an investigation into an alleged assault on civilians by military personnel in Kumasi. In a statement released on April 2, the military high command disclosed that 7 personnel were accused of arresting and assaulting 3 civilians on March 8 over an alleged mobile phone theft. The victims reportedly sustained various degrees of injuries. The statement further noted that the military police and the Ashanti Regional Police CID have taken up the case with the accused officers and soldiers placed under closed arrest as investigations continue. The military high command has assured the public that due process will be followed and has urged the families and friends of the victims to remain calm as they await the outcome of the investigation. We cross over now to engage security analyst Emmanuel Kutin on phone for a reaction and expert insights on this particular development. Good afternoon and many thanks for your time.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Congratulations in all that, given that we have seen a number of military brutalities and even the public calling for an investigation and action from the armed forces. Would you say this step is one that we need to commend in the first place?
Well, I don't think it goes far enough. Looking at the incidences that are happening over the period and it continues to happen, I think we have to look at a multifaceted approach in this enterprise of bringing military brutality to a halt and make the military accountable in a democracy. So first, we have to look at strengthening accountability mechanisms. And here we can look at the military police and civilian oversight bodies that can have independent investigative powers to probe military misconduct. And any personnel found guilty to face legal consequences, not just internal disciplinary measures as we've done in the past, and the menace continues to happen. I think as a country, we also miss an opportunity, given what happened in Ashama some time ago, to have a serious national conversation that could trigger reform. But as usual, the military will want to do its own thing, like it's doing at the moment, where it wants to be a judge in its own cases. And then we also need to enhance human rights training for our security force. I think most of our military personnel must receive a very rigorous training on human rights and civilian engagement and the legal limits of their authority. I think this is what is missing in modern day training for our military personnel. And that's why we see some of these things every now and then. And we must also look at the civilian oversight of public reporting system. You see that if we are able to establish something like a civilian-led oversight committee that monitors and investigates reports of this kind of abuses, it will help. Because when we implement such a public complaint system where civilians can report incidents of brutality with guaranteed protection from what? Retaliation. People will be willing to kind of bring these things into the fore. In the instant case we are talking about, it's just because of the severity, that's what it goes to the media domain. There are a lot that go unreported. And I think that we must also separate military from civilian policing. You see, the military should never be involved in law enforcement unless under extreme circumstances such as national emergency. But in our country, every now and then, you see the military doing the job of the police. And I think that is not acceptable. We must also look at transparency and strict justice system. Cases of military brutality should not be tried, should be tried in public court and not just military tribunals, so that we can ensure transparency. And punishment for human rights violation must be strict enough to deter future incidents. And the last but not the least is the role of the media and the civil society organization. I think we need to trumpet some of these things so that we can expose cases of military brutality. And in so doing, we will increase public pressure that can force authorities to act decisively. So I think these are some of the multifaceted approach we can use in tackling this menace that has bedeviled our democracy.
Thank you so much for your expert insights on this particular matter. He is a security analyst. Away from that, Minister for Lands and Natural Resources Emmanuel has described the fight against illegal mining as terrorism. He has vowed the menace is completely going to be eradicated under his watch as the sector minister. This follows renewed calls from environmental advocacy groups calling for a declaration of a state of emergency on illegal mining. According to the Elemele MP, government will treat illegal miners as terrorists and further put in comprehensive measures to deal with the menace. He was addressing the media a while ago.
This fight is a collaborative effort and involves a lot of sector agencies, a lot of institutions. And I take the opportunity to urge all of these institutions, including the defense, the police, the judiciary to play their part. I mean, this story, it goes to underscore the critical importance of the judiciary in this fight. So I'm very happy that Attorney General is taking the necessary step to try to reconstitute and bring back dedicated courts in dealing with this terrorists. That's how we see them. They are terrorists. His Excellency President Mahama remains fully committed to his pledge to eradicate the illegal mining menace. And as a sector minister, I shall carry through this responsibility to the letter, no matter whose house is God. I want to take this opportunity to sound a note of caution to those involved in this illegal mining enterprise and their faceless collaborators hiding behind political polarization and influence, that any attempts to make calls and overtures to intercede for their notorious corporates will not succeed. The fight against illegal mining is a national priority, and a sustained collaboration is essential to ensure lasting success. I'll conclude.
The Chief Executive Officer of the National Youth Authority, Osman Ayariga, has issued a strong warning to distributors of narcotics, including an opioid known as Red. Speaking on GHOne TV, he stated that authorities are intensifying efforts to crack down on drug distribution as part of a broader campaign to combat drug abuse. He further emphasized that the NYA, in collaboration with other agencies, is actively tackling the menace.
We realize that now beyond the pharmacies, that's where they now have ways and means to import it into the country, not through the pharmaceutical companies. They have most of these boys roaming, with a wheelbarrow pretending to be selling herbs. At the end of the day, they are the ones that sell most of these drugs. So I'm also using this medium to warn most of them that very soon the police will be cracking the whip on all those people who go around selling drugs on the wheelbarrows, pretending to be selling sex enhancement medication, who selling ecstasies to make people sexually active. If you are caught with any of these drugs, be it Red or any opioids to make people high, the police would arrest you in that regard. Okay. So we are working with all agencies. So it's not just a fight by NYA, but we are collaborating with the necessary and needed regulators and enforcement agents to make sure that we fight, because you need to fight it from its entry.
Right.
That's the first fight. Once you fight the entry, that is good. Then now you look at what is already within your borders. How do you fight and stop its distribution and sale?
Let's bring you the latest in our world of business now. The Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, has instructed all electronic transfer levy charging entities to immediately reconfigure their system to reflect the abolition of the levy. This directive follows President John Dramani Mahama's assent to legislative bills on Wednesday, April 2, 2025, which eliminated the E-Levy, betting tax, emissions tax, and other levies. In an official communication, GRA informed all stakeholders that the Electronic Transfer Levy Act 2022 Act 1075 and the Electronic Transfer Levy Amendment Act 2022 Act 1089 had been signed into law abolishing the 1% E-Levy effective April 2, 2025. The GRA warned that failure to comply with these directives constitutes an offense and will attract sanctions as prescribed by law. The authority also announced that regular compliance checks will be conducted to ensure full adherence. Let's have a quick conversation with the General Secretary of the Mobile Money Vendors Association, Evans Otumfo. He joins me now on phone. Evans, good afternoon. Two quick questions in place now. The very first one has to do with, has it reflected yet? Have you tried and have you received a charge or not?
Right. Good afternoon to you too. Just from 12 a.m. up until now, customers
in the country. Indeed, we did see a decline, but then the volumes went up. What are your expectations now that the tax has been scrubbed off completely?
Our expectations are, numerous. One, we are expecting that once the levy is off, we'll be seeing a lot of traffic on the mobile money platform, which will translate into huge volumes and values. We are expecting uptake or a surge in the mobile money transactions following the cancellation of the E-Levy. Just for some years after the introduction of the levy, we have experienced a bit of shake-up in terms of the values and the volume. But now that anything that is an affront to the growth of transactions in terms of the volumes and the values are no more, we believe that we are really going to be experiencing some growth in the mobile money, and the utilization too is also going to increase. Ghanaians in generally are very much okay and happy with the cancellation, and we believe that this happiness and this sense of awareness is really going to translate into some good figures or data in the coming months.
Evans, we'll leave the conversation here. Many thanks for speaking with us here on Newsroom. Evans Otunfo is the General Secretary of the Mobile Money Vendors Association of Ghana. It's now time to bring you the latest in our world of sports.
Many thanks for joining me here on Sports Brief. I am Monica Bukari. Now, the Public Relations Officer for the Ghana Boxing Authority, Amin Lamte, has shared an exclusive account with GHOne TV detailing what transpired at the Bukum Boxing Arena during the bout on Saturday night that led to the tragic loss of Nigerian boxer GHOne. He spoke with myself and GHOne Champong.
The point that you're saying that the guy was supposed to fight on Friday, he couldn't fight, why Saturday? GBA, our job is to listen to you. They brought their message to the GBO on the GBA table. We scrutinized it. We've gotten the information, the license about the boxer. So that was why we gave them the green light. So on that very day, we all saw he was leading round 1. Round 2, he was leading. He was dictating the fight. Round 3, as we all saw, he was dictating the fight. There was nothing like there was any hefty point that was landed, nothing. He just retreated a bit and went to lean on the ropes, and that was it. Yes. So the referee who was counting, he counted 1, 2, before 3, he realized that look, something is going on. Yeah. He invited, the how they call it, the ringside physician, and he was supported by the National Ambulance Service paramedics. He was closer to me. They came, they took care of him, they did everything. Partially, he was resuscitated. He was resuscitated partially. Wow. Okay, so we saw, and then they decided to transport him to Kolebu. We all know, Arena to Kolebu just about 2 minutes drive. So they took him there straight to the emergency. They checked him, they look at him. He was placed on oxygen. Okay, so he was on oxygen just about after 30 minutes, and then he kicked the bucket. So that was what happened. So in the history of Ghana, this is the first time that we've experienced this, and we hope it will never happen again. And we hope the government and the Ministry of Sports and the Recreation, he has come out, we communicated with them, and if you look at what he's doing now, it tells you that we will be able to change some of these abnormalities.
Meanwhile, Amin Lamte expressed his disgust over how certain sections of the media reported the unfortunate incidents at the Bukum Boxing Arena, where Nigerian boxer GHOne tragically lost his life. Speaking on the matter, Lamte urged the media to ensure they gather all facts before publishing stories for the public.
deception and the misinformation put out by people, sometimes I feel it very, very bad. Joel, you know, a lot of our guys who are in the industry are untrained.
Exactly.
Because journalistically, as a lecturer in journalism, PR, communication, marketing, I always tell my students that, look, in going to cover an event, if you hear something, don't just be in a hurry. Take your time. Whether it's breaking news or not, take your time. Because we have what we call storytelling technique. Even boxing reporting, we have our terminology. Football, basketball, we mention it. So when something did happen, the most important thing is you describe that as a crisis. So the first thing you do is crisis analysis. How did you analyze it? Most of those who put out those wrong information out there, they were not at the boxing arena. There's somebody who even gave a headline that a boxer collapsed at the Bukum boxing arena and died in the ring. It is not true. So, Joe, what I'm trying to put out to buttress the point, the question that my sister do ask was that, yes, it was a promoter that engaged him, invited him to Ghana to come and fight on Friday at the Bukum Park. There were two Nigerians who came. They used the same transport and came down, but with different management team and coaches. So his fight couldn't come on, for which GBA cannot tell.
Now, Lamte, however, stated that procedures are currently underway at the court to obtain clearance for an autopsy, after which the body will be released to the Nigerian Boxing Authority.
Well, the body, as we speak now, is at the morgue, and we were expecting them to finish up with the autopsy today. But this morning when we went, they decided that, look, no, we need the police report, and the police report must be authenticated by the court. So as we speak, the GBA president and then the police, they are currently at the court for the court to confirm whatever report the police will submit to the doctors before the autopsy. And before this autopsy, the Ghana Boxing Authority, we communicated with Remy, who is the General Secretary of the Nigeria Boxing Board of Control, and they all understood everything. So now it looks like they've shifted everything to the acting, how would you call it, High Commission of Nigeria here in Ghana. He was at our office, we spoke to him, he understood everything. He was even telling us that he watched the fight, and he was trying to see whether something did happen, behind what we saw. So he called the president yesterday that he has given the green light. We can go ahead with the autopsy for us to know the cause of death, because that is what everybody is now anticipating. So everything is fine. So we're hoping that latest by tomorrow, because I know when they get the report today from the court, it will be done by tomorrow.
Away from that, the Sports Authority has announced its decision to extend the closure of the Accra Sports Stadium for domestic football matches. In a statement released moments ago, the NSA said even though the Ghana Football Association has made requests to use the facility, it will not be able to grant the same due to a structural audit currently being undertaken. The NSA received a written request from the GFA on Friday, 28 March 2025, taking into consideration the preparations and other required protocol arrangements that need to be put in place to ensure that we host a successful game. It was practically impossible for the game to take place at the Accra Sports Stadium. However, they have engaged all protocol or stakeholders to evaluate the possibility of hosting any football match at the Accra Sports Stadium. In this regard, the NSA would like to confirm that the Accra Hearts of Oak and Nations FC match will be played at the Accra Sports Stadium. And that's all for sports. My name is Monica Bukhari. But do join us on the game here on GHOne TV and Star FM at 1 p.m. Back to you, Emmanuel Agyabeg.
Thank you so much for the update, Monica Bukhari. It's now time to bring you the latest in our world of entertainment. GHOne TV's flagship entertainment program Rhythms Live earlier paid tribute to legendary Osibisa Band, one of Ghana's first music exports. The special tribute show brought together several music icons to celebrate the band's profound impact on Ghanaian music, the African continent, and the global music scene. There's more in this report.
Live paid tribute to the iconic Osibisa band. The special show brought together music giants such as music producer Hammer, music legends in the persons of Bessa Simons, Jedublee Ambuli, Natbrew Amanziba, and the master drummer Otrema Asante. These legends, in their own right, eulogized the band's profound impact on Ghanaian music, the African continent,
or the Caspo. And he invited his brother, like you said, Mark Tonto, who was also playing with the Uhuru Dance Band.
Right.
He played with Commerce, then he left to Uhuru Dance Band, and they were playing. So he went there, and with Saul Amafio and other Caribbean guys, they formed the Osibisa group.
Music producer joined in the conversation by expressing his heartfelt admiration of the music group. Detailing how original and unique their sound was, he made a call to stakeholders to do more in preserving the memory of our legends by holding exhibitions in their honor and inducting them in our educational curriculum.
They should be taught in schools. You know, their story and what they did has to be in the minds of our kids. Our kids don't really know them. You know, if I ask my boys in SS about Osibisa, they'll tell me they don't know them. It is wrong. It is wrong. We need to induct our kids with this information.
Right.
Very important.
Music legends Bessa Simon, Jedublee Ambuli, Amanziba Natbrew, and master drummer Otrema Asante took
someone, hard for them. Then, when we were playing, Mark Tonto came, he was standing by my side, we talk, and he said, "Hey, Joe, anytime you find yourself in London, come and look for me."
I was going through a lot because it was very difficult times because I was trying to introduce the traditional talking drums into mainstream, music. And Ghanaians were not ready for that because this was a time that pop music was all over the place,
With performances by Inchinchim Band on some of Osibisa's
international news. The U.S. President Donald Trump signed an executive order imposing tariffs on over 150 countries worldwide. Trump had long argued that the U.S. is being exploited in global trade and is now asking and taking, aggressive steps to reverse what he calls unfair trade relations. The new tariff imposes a minimum 10% levy on most goods entering the U.S., with some countries, including China, South Africa, and Algeria, facing even higher rates. According to the official list released, Ghana is among the nations set to pay a 10% tariff on exports to the U.S. The universal tariffs take effect on April 5, while reciprocal measures will be implemented on April 9. Trump has made clear the goals he wants to accomplish through the tariffs: bring manufacturing back to the U.S., respond to unfair trade policies from other countries, increase tax revenue, and incentivize crackdowns on migration. The move has indeed sparked global backlash, with the EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen condemning the tariffs as a major blow to the world economy. In a statement this morning, von der Leyen warned that the new import taxes would create economic uncertainty with dire consequences